There is an interesting race shaping up for Oregon's next Secretary of State after the Shemia Fagan scandal. Current Secretary of State Lavonne Griffin Valade says she's not seeking the position permanently. Two prominent Democrats have already thrown their hats into the ring, State Treasurer Tobias Read and this week's guest, State Senator Sen Manning Jr. First elected to the legislature in 2016, he is one of the legislature's highest-ranking members, serving as Senate President pro tem. Senator Manning represents District 7, which includes Northern and Western Eugene in Lane County. Senator Manning, thanks for joining Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, Senator, why are you running for Secretary of State?
I'm running because if you look across the nation, voting rights is being challenged. We have a lot of election deniers, as the lead was about the denying of the last presidential election. Here in Oregon, we have some of the safest voting methods, vote by mail. One, I provided legislation was paid ballots, return envelopes as well. So we're doing great here. The problem is, serving in the United States Army for over 24 years, sworn to protect and defend our Constitution, I am the only one that's really qualified in order to make sure that we're doing the right thing, protecting voting rights for all Oregonians.
Well, former Secretary of State Shemia Fagan resigned after admitting to being paid as a consultant for a large cannabis company while her office was auditing Oregon's cannabis industry. What were you thinking from your view in the legislature while all this was happening?
Well, there is, first, I was caught off guard. I know former Secretary Fagan, but the issue about pay in the legislation, it is a problem. But for me, I served, as I mentioned, 24 years active duty Army. It didn't pay a lot. It's about public service. I'm not looking for a big paycheck as the next Secretary of State. I'm looking to serve the people. That's what the job is about.
Well, the Secretary of State's pay $77,000 at the time Shemia Fagan was Secretary of State. Do you think that that should be increased?
There is a bill that we passed, pay equity bill for statewide office holders and Senate and House members. It's going to go out to the people, and the people will return with what their thoughts are. For the legislature to arbitrarily raise our own pay is something I can't support. I think it requires buy-in by the people.
Okay. What are your priorities as Secretary of State if you're elected to that position?
So, during my time in the U.S. Army, I served as a United States Army Assistant Inspector General. So, auditing, I am somewhat of an expert in that area. You had mentioned the auditing that the former Secretary of State went through. I think it's incomplete, but the current Secretary of State has been auditing or doing additional work in that area. I want to work on that and listen to what those findings are. But I think that there is an opportunity for us to improve in that area. More importantly, the transparency that's needed. And the people need to understand. I think that many times these audits are being conducted, the people don't understand what the intent or the outcomes are. I intend to improve upon that.
There's been a lot of pushback on Measure 110, the voter-approved drug decriminalization measure. Is that something that the legislature will deal with? Are you going to be looking at that?
Currently, there is a joint committee that has been established to actually look into ballot measure 110. What we have to realize is that ballot measure 110 was voted on by the people of Oregon. The legislators, it's our job to implement it. The rollout obviously is not, and the things that happened that were not intended or not even looked at. So it is necessary to go back in thoroughly and fix this thing and find out where the gaps are. In my district, Senate District 7, things are moving pretty good in that area. However, the Portland metro area and some other areas, not as much. So it's under work, and there's a committee assigned to it. I'm not on that committee, but I will certainly be one to vote on the findings and outcome of that committee's work.
What are your thoughts on the fentanyl crisis that the state is now experiencing? Obviously, it's concentrated here in the Portland metro area as opposed to where you are in Eugene, but it's something that all of us in the state are concerned about. So what are your thoughts about dealing with the fentanyl crisis and whether the legislature can do anything about it?
The fentanyl crisis is not unique to Oregon or Portland. It's a national problem. I think that we need to do more in terms of law enforcement. How this stuff, we have to find out how it's coming in first. Obviously, some of the reports may be true or not, but the bottom line is that it's coming in and we have to stop it. So maybe it will require at some point a legislative fix, but right now we need to find out where is it coming from and stop it. It doesn't seem like we've even tapped the resources available, and if law enforcement need additional resources to get this thing done, because it is a crisis, we're certainly available to help.
Senate Republicans walked out during the last session. We mentioned that during our political headlines going into this interview. They're barred from running for re-election under Measure 113, having those 10 unexcused absences. They're challenging that, taking it all the way to the Supreme Court. What do you think about those senators trying to run again and challenging Measure 113?
First, when you have a small group of legislators that walk out effectively shutting down government, that's not the democratic way that we need to be moving. And the people of Oregon decided that they didn't want that either. Thus, we have that ballot measure. I think that the intent is to prevent them from doing it again. In the past 5 years, there's been 8 walkouts. 8 walkouts. And the thing about it is, like, there have been over 1 or 2 bills. Oregonians are hurting. We can't afford to have this kind of demonstration go on, and it's hurting and costing Oregonians a lot of lives. It's causing a lot. It's attributing to the unhoused problem because we can't pass any legislation or any budgets. So I think that the intent is for this term, if you walk out 10 or more unexcused absence, then you have already made your decision that you're not going to run again. And I stand by what the people want.
Yeah, how frustrating was that during that period of time?
Very, very frustrating. The thing that was really frustrating, Ken, was that some of my colleagues they would not go to the chamber, but they started coming in and going to committee meetings and voting on bills out of the committee. You know, it was really confusing. And I asked one of my colleagues, I said, why are you even here if you're not going to come and do the work of the people? Really didn't have a good answer.
Now, we've got a short legislative session that's coming up in February. There's quite a bit of work that's done before that session actually happens. What do you think are going to be the big issues in the upcoming legislative session?
Housing. Housing is the biggest issue that we have before us, the lack of housing, affordability of housing. You know, many times people come and they say that we're going to build affordable housing. I said, okay, well, let's look at this. If I had $1 million, I could afford $1 million home. We need to start concentrating and call it what it is. It's low to moderate income housing is what we need to be concentrating on. And I'm hoping moving forward in this session, certainly it'll be something I would be talking about.
Got about a minute left, but I want to get to this. Oregonians are looking at a record kicker or return on excess taxes next filing session, next tax filing season. How does that affect what you can accomplish in the legislature, just knowing that our economic situation is that way?
So one of the things that Oregonians don't quite understand about the kicker, the average household will receive less than $200. The majority of the money will go to corporations. So why would we want corporations to get billions of dollars and Oregonians, everyday Oregonians, pennies? when we can use that money to improve the lives of all Oregonians.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, Senator Manning, for being here and being on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you for having me.